roll right now.
Yo, Mike Nassan, chupwa. Do you have number one son.
All right, we're back with the second episode of Coffee with Coaches, featuring the one and only Riley Stockton, who plays softball at Montana State.
University of Montana.
Same thing. Hey,
A little
time
different.
time out. Wait, what conference?
Ooh.
What conference is Montana State in?
Big Sky.
They're both in the Big Sky?
Yeah, they just don't have a softball tournament or softball team.
Oh, so it doesn't even matter. I wasn't even dissing you.
You
Anyway,
were. That's like our rival.
not
That's
softball?
like when they said Iowa State on TV the other day.
Oh,
for the
I
Iowa game.
know. Not well. They only did it once. ESPN did it twice, so I think I'm good to go.
You're good.
All right. So Riley, tell us a little bit about just Montana, not state, the University of Montana. How you got there, and then we'll learn a little bit about the ins and outs of what make you you.
Yeah. So I'm a senior, so I've been here 4 years. I was recruited kind of during COVID, so it made it a lot harder than it needed to be. Throughout my recruiting process, I originally committed to Idaho State, which is also in our conference, so it's a little awkward when we play each other. They don't like me very much. But committed there originally, and then somewhere in my junior year of high school, their whole coaching staff got fired. Then this new coach came on, and a couple things happened where it just wasn't for me anymore. So then I decided to decommit, and that's when I found Montana. I was at a showcase tournament down in Florida with my Lady Hawks team, and I saw that they were looking for a 2020 catcher, which happened to be myself. So I was like, screw it. I reached out, and that's when I got in contact with Coach Mel, who's my head coach, and that kind of got the ball rolling. And then I committed somewhere like December, January-ish of my senior year, and then I've been here ever since.
That's interesting because there are so many athletes who are in their junior year and are like, I haven't committed yet.
Yeah.
And so many people who committed like January to May senior year and got like Macaulay got a full ride to Rutgers in May of her senior
Oh,
year.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and you think about too, was before that rule change, that was what was that, 2017 when they changed it, but the last commit was she's now at Florida, but she was in 6th grade
I remember
when
that.
she
Yeah.
committed, and I was like, what is going on?
That is just crazy.
Riley, I didn't ask you this earlier, but what are you studying at Montana?
I am a sociology with a concentration in criminology major.
And what do you want to do with that?
So after I graduate in May, I'm going to, 1, go get surgery on my arm to fix my shoulder. And then 2, I'm going to the Highway Patrol Academy here to become part of the Highway Patrol.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Popper.
Yes, ma'am. I'm so excited.
Sheesh. So do you have to like intern or anything like that?
Not that I know of. I just have to get hired on to a detachment first, and then they send me to a.
Awesome.
So
Good for you.
it's like 12 weeks of basic, and then I'll go to 10 weeks of advanced. Get pepper spray, tased, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I definitely fix your shoulder before that.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Oh my god, that's awesome. That's
But sorry, go ahead, coach.
no, stop. We're gonna work on that. Remind me, so you played for the Washington Lady Hawks, but remind where you played high school and like where you lived, just so they can kind of get an idea. Because I'm sure people are privy to the Lady Hawks. They're pretty well known, but
Right. Yeah, so I played for the Lady Hawks from 13 to 18, so for 6 years. And then I went to Rogers High School, which is in Puyallup, Washington. And that's where I grew up. I was born and raised there. Then I moved here 4 years ago.
So would you say that you staying on that team for how many years was that? That
6.
travel 6 years. Did you we kind of touched on this a little bit, but is it very common for people to team hop? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
after a while, there were only a couple of us that went from, because I was on the first 12U team there. So I
Okay.
went from 12U all the way to 18 gold. So there
Mhm.
were actually only 2 of us that went from 12U all the way to 18s.
Okay, yeah,
And
that's what I was
so
getting
that was
at.
actually
Like,
kind of cool.
yeah, I was gonna say like you're part of like the inaugural like age
Right.
group, and to be able to like ride that out because as and you know, especially on the West Coast too, is like it can get political. It can kind of like people can get
Hmm.
unhappy about playing time, but
For
good for
sure.
you for sticking all those years because
Thank you.
as seriously because as I'm never gonna call you Ashley as coach and I know it's hard to find kids that are committed and also good for your program to
Mhm.
stand by you as well and get you off to where you are now
For sure.
because you definitely it's hard to find that in a lot of places so that's really
Definitely.
impressive
Yeah.
when you said that I was like oh damn like you're a lifer yeah
Yeah.
It's so loyal.
yeah
I mean, I owe everything to those coaches. I mean,
mm,
from 12U to 18, like every single one of them had such an impact on like who I am, like the way I play, even like the person I am. And just the girls I met along the way too, like
mm,
my like lifelong best friends who, I mean, my best friend Sophia, she played at University of San Diego.
mm,
She's 2 years older than me. But I
mm.
mean, even just like those relationships you build from a program for that long is like amazing. And I know, like, because I coach with Ashley, and so I've seen kind of how some younger kids jump back and forth, and that can be a little
Sure.
frustrating. So,
Yeah.
I've definitely seen both sides.
What age feel like you're like, okay, I want to do this in college. Like this is
Ooh,
I want to commit to this.
good question. I would say probably 14 or 15,
Okay.
because I remember, no, maybe 13 or 14, probably after I was on Lady Hawks.
Mm,
So I remember being in like 12V. I played for the Acers, who's a big organization back in Washington as well.
mm,
And I would just have breakdowns with my parents, like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm
mm,
over it, you know? And then I went to the Lady Hawks and just seeing how every single one of those girls was so committed to the sport, committed to their team, committed to going to the next level. I was like, oh,
mm,
I want to be like them. Like, one of my friends, Maddie Morgan, played at Alabama.
mm.
And so, like, growing up watching her, growing up watching Soph, all these people that went to like big name schools, I was like, I want to be
Sure.
like that.
Mm,
But then throughout like the recruiting process, I was like, I don't want to go to a huge school.
mm,
And then because everyone like has a different feel. Like when I was 10, I was like, oh, I wanna go to Florida. I'm gonna go be a
sure.
Gator. I want to go to
Yeah.
UW, you know.
Yeah.
But then growing up and just kind of figuring out I'm more of a small town kid.
Mm,
Like I love mountains. Like I'm a country girl at heart, so I don't want to go big city.
sure.
And so Montana was the perfect fit because I have all of that.
Mm.
And it just worked out perfectly.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
You touched on when you decommitted from Idaho State, and the coaching staff change, and that's
Mhm.
something that we always try to tell our kids about, especially when they're trying to get recruited, is that, you might build this relationship with this coach, but coaches come and go,
Right.
and things change. And like you said, that new coach came in and was like, I don't know you. So
Right.
why am I gonna why now I'm here, I'm in charge of this money.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know you, so why should I, give that to you? And that sucks. Because
Right.
you build up that relationship with that previous coach and you're like, oh, this is gonna be my home for the next 4 years. So maybe kind
Yeah.
of talk about that and touch on like, anything you learned from committing, decommitting, finding a new home, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a very hard decision to make. But it was in Pocatello, Idaho, which if you have not been, there's not much.
Never been.
It's very small. I mean, it's pretty, but it's very small. And you're right. I fell in love with the coaching staff. I fell in love with how quickly I committed with Coach Schultz was her last name, I believe. Yeah, I was very close with Schultz, and I was like, okay, like this is who I want to play for. not, I mean, at that time, I wasn't really thinking about majors and what doing stuff after college, after graduation. And looking back, I wish I would have looked at that a little bit more, because now I'm like, I was so focused on just softball, because we were athletes for how many years, and that's what you think about when you're going to school. And now that I'm about to graduate, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like a life that I need to go live in a couple months, and I'm terrified, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
But decommitting was very hard. And just kind of the way it went over, it wasn't very respectful on one side. I don't want to get too much into it, but there were some things that weren't necessary to say or do. So when I decommitted, I didn't really get a response back when I decommitted. I really just left a voicemail, and I never heard back. So that was kind of it. And then talking to Coach Mel, she was very much on the fence because of everything that happened previously. Just like with my decommitment and all of that was like it was a very weird situation.
Yeah.
So it took her a little while to like actually like be like, okay, let's pursue this kid. And then once she finally did, we clicked like that. Um, and then my family went on a trip to Wyoming. And so on the way back, we stopped and had an unofficial visit, met the coaching staff, some of the players. I played with Kendall Curtis, who I also played with on Lady Hawks. So I knew her pretty well. So she showed me around. And then I got asked to come back on an official visit, came back, did the whole football game, basketball game, just saw the dorms, everything. And that's when I was offered a spot, and I took it. And it's been amazing. I've met my best friends here, and they honestly keep me going every day. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
What's funny though, like Andy, you bring up a good point, because like, so when you talk about like the decommitment, right? Like, and then you get from like a coaching perspective. I mean, I know Riley, you've coached with me, a bit, but like you look at it from a coaching perspective, and I would 1,000% like have those apprehensions too, like as like Coach Mel did, right? It'd be like, wait a second, like this guy or this kid committed to this school, like why? What am I not being told? And I think oftentimes, like, I mean, sure, there are like definitely unfortunate events similar to your situation, but like
Right.
seeing kids commit and then like literally 2 months later they aren't in touch with their values. Like you said, I knew I didn't want to be in a big city. I knew I wanted a
Right.
one. I knew I wanted to be in the mountains, and I wanted to be more of like a country girl,
Right.
but I say that like laughing, like jokingly, but people you ask kids their values, like, okay, if softball were to end right now, would you stay there? And
Right.
like, I don't know, because to your point, like academics don't matter, values don't matter, and then it's just like I just want to play ball. Like I want to play ball.
Right.
So it's funny because like now from like a coaching perspective, I could see where the apprehension comes from. Like an athlete doesn't really get the fact that, okay, I'm gonna decommit, and then they're gonna be like, hey, by the way, now take me to somebody else, and people are like, wait, why would we take you when you just decommitted somewhere else? Like we don't understand.
Right.
Yeah, and you kind of like you think about, sadly enough, there are coaches out there that phone call, and unfortunately there might be miscommunication. Will be like, you don't want that kid, they decommitted.
Right.
So it's almost like you have to hold your own, like think about, I know like myself, because it's so easy to like, especially when you're being recruited, it's so easy to see your value through someone else, right?
Right.
So now you got a new coach who doesn't even know you come to you and say, well, why do I want you?
Yeah.
Right.
Then you have to kind of be like, well, you know what, the stars aligned, I wasn't meant to go here, and you did the right thing, like you called, you left the voicemail, that's all you can do, like, right, like on your end.
Yeah.
And then whereas now it kind of led you to, this is my home, these are my people, who knows, like, and we'll get into your medical stuff, but like who knows, maybe when you were at Idaho State, that never would have like you never would have found out, like it, you know what I mean? It's kind of weird how like the stars align in that way, whether you felt terrible about yourself, and you probably, I could be wrong, but maybe you're second guessing, do I even want to play anymore? Like,
Yeah.
time's ticking, right? Like you said, you
Right.
didn't commit until what, the fall going into your senior year, or when
Yeah.
was that?
Like around that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like you're like everyone's on the clock, right? And it's COVID and it's weird and it's so easy to get discouraged, but I think like good for you for seeing that opportunity at camp and being like, all right, yeah, okay, this checks my boxes, like, and now
Mhm.
I'm gonna put myself out there and valid for the coach to say, okay, well, what's going on? Because there are
Right.
kids that are like shady, sketchy, and it goes back
Right.
to like even team hopping for travel ball, like red flag. Like
Yeah.
if I'm a coach recruiting from travel ball and I'm like, why have you been on 4 teams in 2 years?
Yeah.
Weird.
No,
You,
totally.
yeah. So no. But yeah, go ahead and touch on your medical history and kind of how that's changed your perspective.
Change course. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So medical wise, October of my sophomore year, I started just having this weird like pounding in my chest. I would get like super nauseous and I felt horrible, honestly. And it lasted over a year. And I just kind of put it aside because being an athlete, we're taught to push through everything, like you're not sore, you're just tired, So I was like, oh, whatever, like it doesn't matter. So I just kept pushing it deeper and deeper. And then May of my junior year, so last year, I just couldn't take it anymore. Like I was losing weight, I couldn't keep weight on, and I just felt horrible. So I went to a doctor here in Missoula, and at that time we thought it was like GI, so like stomach related, just because my heart wasn't functioning, so I wasn't getting enough like blood and oxygen to my organs. So it was affecting everything else than what the actual problem was. So
Mm.
I ended up seeing her a couple times, just trying to figure everything out. And then I ended up having a colonoscopy because she thought that would fix it. It did not. And so then I went home back to Washington because my dad was like, just come home, like, because I was working in Missoula over the summer. So I wanted to have this independent summer, away from my parents, and then got super sick. So my parents like, just come home. Like, this isn't worth it. It's more stress on you being by yourself. So then I went home. Oh, sorry, let me backtrack a little bit. Before that happened, my mom's best friend was in Missoula, like my second mom, and she's worked in the ER for like 20 something years at this point, I think. And she was like, okay, you haven't had your heart checked out. Let me feel your pulse. Felt my pulse, and it was just all over the place. Like very erratic, like not like a good beat, like super high. And so then we went to the fire department and I got hooked up to all these different machines for an EKG. And then this big guy looks at me and he goes, how old are you? I was like, 21. He goes, are you an athlete? I was like, yeah. And he goes, go to the ER. So I was like, oh crap. I was like, this is it. My time is over. Went to the ER and that's when I found out I had a heart issue. Got this Zio patch, which is a heart monitor, and it records all your beats for like over 2 weeks, I believe. So I was on a couple of those. And then after that happened, then I went home because we found out it was more serious than just like a stomach bug going on.
Mhm.
Went home, I saw a cardiologist there and did a couple more tests and found out I don't know the actual like name of it, but I just had a lot of premature beats
Mhm.
and just like a racing heart. So as he described it, my heart was like always running a marathon. So I was sleeping, doing homework, playing, like anytime. It was just like over 160, which is very bad.
Yeah, no, that is not good. That's like if you're in shape and you're like working out, whereas that was never me. I
Are
was
you kidding
never
me?
in
I have
Yeah.
shape.
a dog and my heart rate's 160.
I all weekend in Carver, my heart rate was 160. Um, so when you say that, so obviously, like as athletes, like we have to get physicals.
Right.
And nothing ever came up in any of your annual physicals for your heart ever.
Nothing.
That's insane.
Not
And
once. I mean,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. There you go.
You're like, and you lost all that weight. So then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, not obviously like getting to your organs, but then you think about, okay, if I'm running a marathon, how many calories is that you're burning,
Right.
right? So then you're
Hmm.
doing that 24/7, and then you're also
24/7.
being an actual athlete, right? And you're going
Right.
to practice and stuff like that, and then your body just cannot rest.
Right.
So that's crazy, and that led to when you were catching during the game. So touch on that.
Yes. Yeah. So then summer ended and I was told by a couple different doctors that I wouldn't be able to play my senior year because no one knew what was going on, really. They were like, everyone kept telling me I'm young and healthy, but I mean, I remember I would just call my mom just bawling. So I was like, everyone is telling me that I'm fine,
And you
but I
don't feel
feel like
fine.
death. Yes.
Yeah, and you're helpless, and you probably feel like you're
Yes.
probably like anxious as hell, and like
Yep.
you're like, I have all these professionals that
Right.
are telling me I'm fine, and you know
I
you're
mean,
not fine.
I thought I was like, well, I also was like very big into WebMD when this was going
Oh
on,
God,
which
Your mom
which
is
I learned.
crazy.
I
Your
do it
mom's a
too.
nurse. She's
I
gonna
do it
kill you
too.
for saying that.
Oh yeah,
Everyone does
my
it.
mom was pissed.
Everyone does it. This is a safe space. This is a safe space.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah, so when they thought it was like stomach thing, I was told like I might have like colon cancer. So I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. Like this is it.
Yeah.
So it was like one thing after another, and I was never like justified, like
hmm
you have this going on, like we can
Yeah.
do this to fix it. It was like, no, you're fine. Like
Mhm.
just you're fine, but don't play softball, but you're fine. So that
Yeah.
was extremely hard. So then I kept playing. I was like, kind of screw it. I'm not gonna let some doctor tell me that I can't play.
So your
So
coach still let you play?
yeah,
Doctor said no.
yeah. Well, I
Well-
didn't tell my coach that the doctor said no.
She probably didn't tell her coach because I can guarantee if she knew that there's no way.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
Tell me
I
that,
didn't really-
Andy, you wouldn't do the same thing. Like,
You made me. I got put on a stupid steroid for a cough, and you go to Deb. She has to know. And I'm like, I'm literally on this for 3 days. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Like yeah. So sorry. Anyways, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So almost like you kind of did it to yourself.
I
Good
mean,
for
yes and
you.
no. So yeah, I didn't really tell anyone that because I was like, no one needs to know,
You
so I'm just gonna keep
regret it?
going.
do you
What?
regret do you regret not telling anybody?
Yes. Because I feel like we could have had this situation fixed faster.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to fall. We were playing some preseason games here in the fall. And one of our last ones, felt great all game, like no issues. And then one inning I threw down to second in between innings and I went to stand up to like start talking to my infield and everything went black. Like complete tunnel vision. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't just like the feeling of it was so weird. And so I walked out to my pitcher, Riley Rabine, and I was like, I need a second. And she was a freshman. So like the freshman nerves were there. And she's like, oh my God, like what's going on? So she starts freaking out. So then I start freaking out. And then I was like, I need to sit down. And I'm one to never take myself out of a game, like ever, that or purposely sit down on a softball field.
Right.
And then my head coach Mel and my trainer Claire come running out. And they're like, what's going on? I was like, I can't see anything. Like completely blind, except like one tiny circle is all I could see. They're like, okay, take your time. And I was like hyperventilating because my heart was just like going haywire. And then I obviously went out of the game. Went back inside. I got put on a blood pressure cuff and a heart rate monitor because my trainer had one on hand always. And my heart rate was like 198.
Not good.
Just not good.
Yeah.
No.
That was more. That was definitely more me after I jogged 200. Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So then after that, I was like, I'm done playing. Like I had all my teammates' parents coming up to me like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Like I
And that's
genuinely have no
overwhelming
idea.
too. Yeah, that's overwhelming
Yes.
too. Cause and it's almost like, you're like, dude, leave me alone. I'm freaking out. And the more attention that you have on you, you're like, there is something wrong. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I can't answer that. I also have kind of been keeping a secret, so that's overwhelming. But all I, and so it's just like, you just want to play. You just want to play.
I just want to play. And I wanted to play with no complications and no one like asking questions. And it was hard. I mean, like teammates' parents I have a relationship with, so I get, but it was when just like regular Grizz fans would come like coming up to me. That or I had some come up to me. I was grocery shopping. They're like, I saw you go down on the field. Like, what's going on? I'm like, I really appreciate you like caring, but like I don't know, so don't ask.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I love that you're like genuine about like knowing how I'm doing, but I'm just don't bring it up. So after that point, my trainer was like, okay, we're like basically cutting you off. You can do some stuff, but majority is cut back. And then I found a heart surgeon here in Missoula who's a specialist, Robert Murdoch. This man is a lifesaver. I went there and he was like, I can either A, put you on a pill that may or may not work, and you'll have to be on it for the rest of your life. And I was like, okay, that's not, no thanks. He was like, that or a surgery option, which is a heart ablation, which is what I ended up getting. And he was like, this has the highest chance of actually doing something. And if this works properly, we'll never have to deal with it ever again. So I was like, oh, perfect. Let's go. Let's just get it done.
Let's do it today.
So then let's do it today. I'm ready.
Yeah.
And so at that point, we had it scheduled for sometime in November, but it ended up getting canceled because he wanted like, since I was so young, he was like, I want the state-of-the-art equipment. So we had all these like brand new machines rolled in. And so I was one of his first patients to use this like brand new equipment.
I was gonna say you're like
That's
patient
cool.
zero. You're patient zero
Basically.
for this. Like you might the surgery might end up getting named after you.
Yeah.
We don't know.
The Stockton ablation, that'd be kind of cool.
That is honestly, there's worse names out there
That's very
for
true.
diseases. So I think that's great.
Yeah. So then pretty frustrated when it got canceled because I was like so anxious for it to happen.
Sure.
But it got canceled, whatever. And then I had the procedure, I guess, January 12th of this year. Super easy. I just go in. So an ablation is they take a catheter and they go up your femoral artery in your groin and they snake that little bugger all the way up to your heart. And then they just cauterize or burn all the bad nerves around your heart that are making your heart misfire. And so I just remember I was with my mom and my trainer came for the surgery with me. And I remember just getting like rolled in. It was this like fancy table where you had to be like aligned just right. So you're laying down, you're getting covered in stickers, like your entire body is covered with stickers. I'm just laying there and then he goes, all right, we're ready. So then I get like this big gown over me and I get like both my legs numbed up. And then I get put on this like very intense medication that like knocks me out. But I woke up halfway through because I wasn't given enough because like he said athletes metabolize medication faster than a normal person.
Yes.
So I wasn't given enough. So I was sleeping and I woke up to him burning my heart.
Oh my
You couldn't feel it though. You
Yeah.
couldn't feel it, right?
I could feel it.
Did you like want to be like, can I have some Tums? Like what's going on?
No,
Sorry.
It's not the first time I've heard that, Riley. Like
Yeah.
I woke up in the middle of surgery too. They thought they were giving enough, but yeah, I've heard that the athletes metabolize. Like no fault to the doctor.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So I was given. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'll say it afterwards. Okay.
You see,
I was given.
Andy's holding her right now.
Oh, just wait. It gets worse. So I was giving some like amnesia medicine, so I wouldn't remember. I remember most of it, but I don't
Are
really
they trying
remember.
to keep like the trauma from you? That's what they're.
Well,
Why
it's not.
would
It
they
didn't
do
work.
that? Yeah, clearly you woke
It didn't
up.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So I was on some amnesia medication and fentanyl was what they gave me, which is very good if it's doctor recommended.
And yeah, thank you. We are not supporting drug use here.
We are not supporting drug use.
Was prescribed under doctor approval.
Yes, doctor approval only. So I was given that to knock me out, but like I said, I processed it faster than a normal human being. So I remember just laying there, eyes closed, like asleep basically, and then I felt him like start burning. And so I lifted my head up and I was like, holy crap, Murdoch, that hurts. And he looks at me like he stops. He goes, you can feel that? I was like, yeah. Because imagine like, I don't even know like how to describe the feeling, but just like getting burned and just holding it there, but like inside your body, like
Oh my God.
internal in your heart.
I just like want to go like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
so,
I
I
want to
can't
drink some
imagine.
milk. I want to drink
Yeah.
some milk.
Like I'd eat Tums all the time and like Pepsid. So like that's all my brain is thinking is just like, okay, what would that sensation? Heartburn. Okay, legit heartburn.
Heartburn times like 1,000.
Oh my God. So okay, when they snaked through or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they cauterize in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how? How do they do it?
So like there's this like metal tip on some end of some like rod, or I don't know like all the logistics of it.
And that goes through the artery.
Yes. Yep. So that goes from my groin all the way up to my heart with this metal tip.
It's life-saving, Andrea.
I hear you. It's just that's amazing. And I hope it's the
Oh, it's
Stockton
absolutely
project,
amazing.
whatever the hell we're gonna call it.
Project.
I'm
I
so
mean,
happy we're here talking to you about this. I'm
thank
amazed
you.
by medicine.
Honestly, I'm too. I've learned so much about the human body this last year. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, it's
anyway,
just
yeah, you woke up and they were like,
yeah,
boom, go back to sleep.
yeah. Because I woke up and I was like, Murdoch, that hurts. And he was like, oh my gosh. But he didn't say those words. He was like, you can feel that? And I was like, yeah, it burns. He goes, give her more. So then I was pumped full of more meds. And then I was out the rest of the procedure. It was 2.5. I know it was under 3 hours. It was about 2.5 hours procedure. And then I don't really remember getting rolled back in at all. But I was just talking to my mom about this because she came to my last tournament to watch me play, and we were talking, and she was like, I just grabbed her hand and I said, Mom, my heart's fixed.
Aw.
Like immediate relief. And like Ash said, my mom has worked in the medical field for
Long time.
ever since I was born, long time, over 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mom, my heart's fixed. And just I had a normal rhythm again. Everything went perfectly smooth. And Dr. Murdoch is the reason that I can play my senior year because he was the one
Shout
guy,
out.
right? Dr. Murdoch, if you are listening, I freaking love you, man.
Hey, you want to know what?
Man.
It's even his fault. That's the anesthesiologist.
No
Right.
one's to blame. Everything turned out okay.
Everything is fine.
Everything's fine. So when you come out of surgery and you like wake up, did they automatically be like, okay, let's hear it. Like let's gauge
Yeah,
where
I
you're
mean,
at.
I was still hooked up to all these machines because after they did the last burn and like stitched me up and like my incisions, I had to sit there for 30 minutes. And I was so out of it at that point, but they were like, we need to monitor you for 30 minutes to make sure that you don't have another one. You don't have another PVC. And since I went a half hour without, they're like, we can reel you back. That way I don't have to come back in case something else pops up. So then I was reeled back, put on another monitor, and I was there for 4 hours. I want to say 4 hours just because I had to lay completely flat so my incisions don't open up. And then that was it. I mean, I walked out of there same day, and I was.
You know what's crazy?
I haven't felt.
You get heart surgery and you walk out, but if you get your wisdom teeth removed, you got to get somebody to drive for you. You get wheeled out like that. Science.
Science.
We got to figure out a better way, dentists.
Oh,
That's so true, though.
dude. But Riley, didn't you say? Did they say what the cause was? Is it
Yeah.
Effect or something?
No. So,
this is
one
good for
they
everyone
think.
to hear.
Yes, for all my young athletes out there. One, I was super sick with COVID, like no vaccine, just COVID. And I think that was a major factor because they've seen a lot of younger athletes who have been sick that now have heart issues.
That's crazy.
Right? So one, COVID, and 2, energy drinks.
There it is.
I know what
Don't
the
look at me
title
like
of
that.
this video is gonna be.
Dude, but for real though, like straight up, like that, let's talk about how serious that is. Cause I mean, you're talking like we're kind of like joking around and making light of a situation. Like Andy was like about just holding her heart for majority of your story, but how overlooked caffeine is when you're performing at a high level, how overlooked
Yeah.
not eating or having the proper nutrients is at a higher level. Like that's life or death, like straight up. Like we're kind of like making light out of a situation, but like really, Riley, you like God was watching you over you 1,000% because
Yeah.
and gave you the opportunity to get better, right? Like, yeah, let's talk about medicine.
Right.
Like, ultimately, like there's definitely something higher there that I mean, you let that go on for how long, right? Like
Over a year.
yeah.
And how many energy drinks were you drinking a day?
At least one. But I
Okay,
started
were
like
you
back
having
in high
them?
school.
Were you having them like every day?
Every day, if not every other day, quite often.
But like frequently, like I have a cup of coffee every day. Like,
Right.
and again, that's only like what 25 milligrams of
Yeah.
caffeine, maybe if that.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So you say like, oh, like what was the brand you were drinking? If you say Monster or Bang, if you say Bang, I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Red Bull. It gave me
A lot of
weight.
Red Bulls. A
Yeah.
lot of Red
Okay.
Bulls.
Well, Bang is like 300 milligrams of
At
can.
senior year of high school, I really got in the peach mango bangs.
Yeah.
Man.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, now,
That's
I mean, look at now though, like, uh, so remember C4 was like the bane existence of just, like
Big
pre-work.
pre-workout. Yeah.
sure, yeah.
And then they came out with the cans, right?
hmm
C4, but then it was weird because, I'm gonna draw a blank on what the ingredient, I want to call it a chemical because I feel like that's what it is, but
It probably is.
yeah, the ingredient is, but like, so you could buy like just the energy drink C4, or you could buy the one that's more like a pre-workout and it
Mhm.
make your face tingle. I don't,
Oh, the itch.
The
yeah,
tingle, the itch from
it's
pre-workout.
like, I don't know if
Uh-huh.
it's vitamine. I don't know. I don't really know.
Isn't it amino acids?
No, aminos are more natural energy.
That's what I say. Like that is what, because I was like, yikes. Because I remember, not to get off topic, but you remember Amp
Yeah,
by Mountain Dew?
yeah.
Okay. When that first came out, I drank two in a night. And I remember getting up out of my bed and bawling, being like, I'm gonna be a kid on the news that dies from this because I shit you not, I'm sorry. I felt the blood through my body. Like it was such a ever since then, I only if an energy drink is my last resort, I will drink one. But and a little side note too, just on energy drink cans itself. So now in the industry that I work in, there's coatings for the inside of energy drink cans because of all the chemicals that
Mhm.
aren't supposed to be in your body. They have to coat the inside of the can in order for the can to not
Yeah.
fall apart. So you think about what you're putting in your body, right? And so that makes sense. Like you're drinking that every day, every other day, and it's milligrams and milligrams of sugar, like fake stuff, fake processed things. And that makes so much sense. And I hated when my athletes came to workouts and they were drinking like an Alani or they were drinking a Red Bull. They're
Yeah.
like, Coach, I gotta get amped up. I'm like, I'll smack you in the face and you can get just as amped up.
Well, I mean,
Like,
look at all the older athletes, like early 2000s. Like, I mean, the military is like very prominent, and I mean, like the worst possible habits you could have. Like when I
oh
was,
yeah.
I'd wake up, have a cup of coffee, have my pre-workout during the day before I go work out. Then I'd crash. Then I'd have an energy drink. Like I went from like probably having, I don't know, 800 milligrams a day. It, and people that I deployed with or work with were having like 2,000 a day.
That's nuts. But then your body, it's no different than drugs, right? Your body gets so used to
Just
what you're
Uh-huh.
putting in. Yeah. And so it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to function without it, right? And it's because caffeine is a drug.
It's a
Okay.
stimulant. Yeah.
Yeah. We're back at Dare. Okay. Caffeine's a drug. Okay. But yeah, so you would have that, and then just say like, hey, what's your caffeine intake? Like, did they ask you
Hmm.
about that?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, I don't want to say my first doctor did, but once like I found out it was my heart, they were like, "How much you're drinking a day?" And I was like at least. Sorry, I thought one of my roommates was coming in here. I was
I
like,
thought you were counting the cans on the wall of what you drank today. That's what I thought you were doing.
She
I thought you
saved
were like,
them. She
I
saved
just
them.
have like a row,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, you're in college. I get it. I've had like 6
like 6
today.
a day. No, so I would be like, I'm having like 1-ish a day, maybe 2 if we have like weights and then like a long practice, you know. And they were like, cut it out, and I was like, okay. And honestly, that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do because, like we said, it's a drug. So every drug you have withdrawals, and the amount of headaches, just like migraine headaches, I couldn't do anything. And then I was like, I need caffeine. And I swear to God, even just smelling it made it go away. Because one of
That's
my like teammates,
crazy.
would be like, haha, look, I got a Red Bull, smell it. Just being like a little jerk about it. And
You're
I
like,
would
I need a
smell it
quick
and it
hit.
would and it'd get so much better just by smelling it.
Crazy. So the dependency on it
Yeah.
really caused your body to like spiral to like where you're pretty much
Hmm.
like, my heart is gonna explode.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I over this whole process, especially over the summer, I lost close to 30 pounds. And I've never been like the skinny kid, like I've always had like, I'm a catcher, so I've always had like some meat on my bones.
Sure.
But I got skinny. I mean, my roommates were like, you look anorexic. And like just
Yeah.
hearing that was so hard.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like I have like, there's something serious going on.
So
And I mean,
what's your advice now of like your energy? If you were to known, your 16-year-old self would have known, like, hey, if you keep drinking these, because there's disclaimers out there, but until it,
mhm,
and you're probably one of the rare cases that this has actually
right,
happened to. And
right.
so now looking back, like, what would your advice be?
I'd say to never touch the damn thing.
There you go. You heard it here
I
first,
mean,
coach.
I think, I think like for me, I have an older brother, and so he was always drinking them, and I'm like, oh, like I want to be like Hayden, he looks so cool with like
Blame
that
Hayden.
monster can.
Blame
I'm
Oh
Hayden.
yeah.
blaming this on Hayden. And like I always played with like older girls on softball too. So I was like, they would always walk in with their little Red Bulls. I'm like, oh my God, I want to try one. Like I want to fit
Yeah.
in.
That's where they get you. Now we can go into like marketing and like brand stuff. That's where they get you though. Seriously. You think
Oh, for
about
sure.
like X Games and Red Bull and
Yeah.
like sponsored by whatever. Like
Yeah.
you need to have this, right? Like I think what is it? Jake Logan Paul's Prime
Oh, the
brand or
Prime. Yeah.
whatever. Like my nephew who is 12 is like all about it. And I told my sister, I was like, if you let him touch that stuff, like we're gonna have a problem because
Yeah.
it's does way more harm than good. And that's where they get you is that, oh, it looks so cool drinking it, and then you're getting your heart burned off.
Come on.
It's okay. Yeah.
Sorry, one of my roommates. Yeah, I would say to never touch it. Not once. I mean, stay as far away from it as you can because like you said at that time I was like, oh, they taste good. Like you get a little boost. But
Yeah.
like long-term effects of that I faced over this last year, like horrible. Like no one wants to do a heart surgery when they're 21 years old
Ever.
in a waiting room with 70-year-olds,
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
for sure.
walk in and they're like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like the
Did
youngest person.
has your teammates like changed at all from your experience?
No.
They're
Because
part of the problem.
but
Yeah.
like for real, Andrea, like think about it because like I was into all like that caffeine stuff in college too, right? Like and I was into like the newest trend. And what I would say is like what I've really learned, because now that I'm not full-time military, like I have a cup of coffee in the morning and that's it. Like I
Same.
used to have a cup of coffee, an energy drink, maybe like uh, a crystal light powder that had 75 more milligrams of caffeine, right? And
Right.
or I was down to like coffee and 2 energy drinks a day. But now that I'm like away from that space, like I don't even think about it. Like I'm like, ooh,
Totally.
first moved here and I was working, like remote for a while. Like I remember like Shauna was like, you don't need to be having, energy drinks in the end of the day. Like why?
Right.
And then we
Right.
just kind of stopped buying them, and I like haven't thought, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I will once in a while buy a Celsius only because when I travel and I do calls all day, if I like, but I never drink the whole thing. It's
Neither
just
do I.
little sips. And
Yep.
it's just like, okay, because I don't like coffee after a certain time of the day. And same thing, like my wife, she's a teacher and she teaches 4-year-olds. And there's sometimes after she has conferences, I'll be like, just take a Celsius and like have a couple sips. Like you don't, because she's like, it makes me feel like crap. I was like,
Yeah.
same, but if I'm driving 5 hours, like I need to stay awake.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's kind of it's like it's give and take, but like the dependency that I would say athletes do have, and shame
Yeah.
on marketing people that target athletes.
Yeah.
We are, that do that. Whereas now, and I think too that I've discovered as well after I've done playing, even now, like being with my wife, is that my diet, my energy. And
Yeah.
so I'm thinking I need this monster to get through this tournament when we just worked 14-hour days. And then I got to go coach and I got to run concessions. I'm like, oh, I need that white monster. It's going to get me through. But really, what
So
did I
good.
have? What did
So
I have
good.
to eat? No, what did we have to eat? I had a hot dog for breakfast. I had a taco in a bag for lunch. Um, like I'm eating
Yeah.
crap all day long. And so you think about like, okay, like food is fuel. And then you like crack open a monster and you're like, oh yeah, I'll make it. Like I get it. Like I totally get it.
Mhm.
When I was coaching, like it's long days. Like, but it's just like, what can you do instead of that?
Right.
So I'm glad that it sucks that you had to figure out the hard way, but
Yeah.
so your recovery and stuff like that. So you said, yeah, you
Mhm.
got to do nothing for a week. And
Yep.
then was it
So
just like, yeah, go ahead.
so right after, like I said, I was down for about 4-ish hours and then I was able to go home. And then my mom actually stayed in Missoula with me, so that was nice. So she could like watch me.
Mm,
Because I'm like, doctors, what do they know? I can go hit right now. And she's like, no, lay on the couch.
Yeah.
So I was on the like strictly like bedridden for about 3 to 4 days. I really didn't do much. Just laid on the couch pretty much all weekend. And then I could like slowly start like going on walks, like doing light like body lift movements. So it was about a week and a half until I could really get back into softball, which started very slow. Especially being a catcher, I couldn't get hit in that particular area because that would just
mm-hmm.
have a whole mess of problems. So I had to
Yeah.
play with this giant foam pad at that area for about a week because we were so like paranoid it was gonna get hit. And then after that, like I was good to go. I mean, at that point, it was really just waiting for my incisions to close up because my heart was fixed at that point. My incisions just couldn't open because I would basically bleed out everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really it. It like for how like intense the procedure sounds, it was very easy, very smooth. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
very thankful that it's fixed and we don't have to worry about it anymore.
It's super awesome.
Yeah. That's seriously awesome. And like talk about if you can touch on like
Mhm.
support that you saw from like your coaching staff or like
Mhm.
your like because people understand that too is like sometimes people are like, oh my coach is the worst or my PT is the worst, she won't clear me. Like at the end of the day, like yeah, and you might feel like the sense of urgency of like, hey, it's my senior year, like this is all I
Right.
got, right? Like I
Mhm.
want to be on the field, like whatever. So kind of like if you can touch on like how your like coaching staff kind of handled it and what they said, like the advice they gave you.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, kind of like I said earlier, like being an athlete, I just want to like push everything to the side. I mean, I have a couple torn tendons in my arm, but I don't think anything of it. You know, I still play like I always do. Um, and so when I first brought it to like my trainer and my head coach, I was like, it's no big deal. Like I'll be fine. And they kind of had to pull me back and be like, dude, this is your heart. They're like, this isn't like a pulled quad. This is like, you need this for the rest of your body. And I mean, my best friend Elise, she's like, stop being stupid. Because I would push it, you know? Or I would like feel a little something at practice and I just like stop for a minute. And at that point, I'm supposed to stop. Like I'm supposed to be done for the day, but I'd keep going. And my best friend is like, stop being an idiot. And I was like, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I'm being totally very stereotypical athlete at that point. Just like, because I don't want to say like athletes feel invincible, but sometimes you're like, we're so used to just like ignoring issues and just keep playing, you know, doing what we do. But I had a lot of people trying to like reel me back in and be like, look, this is serious. This isn't something you can keep shrugging off. Like we need to fix this. And so they were very, very supportive of the whole thing because, like I said, at the end of the day, I'm done playing softball in May, and I need my heart for the rest of my life. So at that point, it was bigger than the sport because if I could, I wouldn't. No, I would do it because it worked. I just hated not practicing for a week or missing on some of my fall games because of my condition. But like I said, in the long run, it's the rest of my life that I have to worry about and not just finishing my softball season.
Yeah. No, that's we can put that next to don't drink energy drinks. That last part. That was a good clip right there. You do have your you should have your heart the rest of your life. Like I saw a quote the other day and it was like, you don't take care of your body, where will you live?
Right.
And I was like,
what?
You live. I was like, oh my God, you wouldn't live. You don't take care of, you are your only vessel. So like if you don't take care of it, like I think, who did I ask? I think I asked like a younger kid. I was like, hey, if you don't take care of your body, where would you live? And they're like, I don't know, down by the river. And I was like,
No.
It was too deep. It was too deep of a question.
I think
that's funny.
I know what you think, like because like Riley, you talk about like, you know, athletes always pushing through and like I mean, hypothetically speaking, like I would just say, even speaking from a coach's perspective, like I can tell if a coach pays attention to like demeanor values, like work ethic, just like overall, like their athletes, not as athletes, but as humans, they can start to decipher who's blowing smoke and who's not, right? And at the end of the day, I think it's good for people to know that like hiding injuries from trainers or coaching staff is not good. It's not good advice.
No.
But there's
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying there's a huge difference between you know, having your second home being the trainer's office versus like, I mean, we're talking like life, limb, and eyesight. Like I need my arm, I need my heart, I need my eye, you know, like those types of things. Like I just feel like it's really important for people to kind of like stay in tune with like, okay, is this going to affect the rest of my life, right? Like and I just don't think that that's always the case, you know.
No, I agree. I think I've noticed with like younger kids coming in, I think it's hard for them to decipher the difference between hurt and sore.
Yep, I agree.
Because there's a huge difference. Like you have Elise, leave without me. Come here. Sorry.
Fine. You have to go.
It's all good.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I'll meet you guys there. No, you're totally fine. I'll meet you there. No, I'll be fine. No, I'll be fine. Yeah. See you there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Love you. Bye. Sorry.
It's all good.
What were we talking about?
T-shirts.
Soreness and injury and young kid, like
yes,
freshmen,
yeah. Yeah. So I just think it's because like you do your first lift back, you're gonna be sore.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, you have your first 3-hour practice back, you're going to be a little sore. And from someone who I need to be in the training room to make sure that my arm functions for season.
Mhm.
I mean, it's hard when they're like, "Oh, my leg is sore." Yeah, sis, it's gonna be sore.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a college athlete. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Rather than this hurts, which is like a problem. You know, like go get that fixed.
Mhm.
And if you don't need to be in the training room, my advice would be to not be in the training room.
Yep.
I mean, my freshman year, we have this app that we use to like sign in for appointments, and I refused to make an account. I was like, I'm not going to be in here. I don't need an account. It's a waste of time. I don't need my name permanently in here. I'll just do it when I have an issue. But then sophomore year came around when I did end up tearing my labrum, and I was like, okay, finally time to make an account because I need to be in here more. So I would just say if you don't have to, don't do it, because there are kids that really do need the resources and need time to get help so that they are able to perform on the field instead of just fixing like a sore quad or a sore arm or like anything
Yeah.
like that.
But
And that comes in.
you could mitigate all that with two things: preparation and nutrients. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like I feel like oftentimes, and I'm not saying this is in all cases, but like you're saying, the difference between soreness and hurt is very different, right? Like,
Right.
so, but the soreness comes from either A, not being prepared, or doing something you've done before.
Right.
Like, and preparation before becoming a collegiate athlete, whether it's at the D3 JUCO or D1 level, like you're going to do things you've never done before, period.
Right.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Also, too, like, saying that you can take care of your soreness by just going back to your dorm and icing. Like, and kids
Get a
don't do
foam
that
roller.
either. Get a foam
Yeah.
roller. Like, that's another thing too. And like, granted, it's you. Sadly enough, those 18-year-old freshmen have to be taught that. Like, hey, you're
Right.
sore. Fine. I'm sorry. You can't take up a bed because so and so's doing their PT for their ACL, and you just need an ice pack for your shoulder. Like, go back to your dorm or take the ice pack to go. Like, there are kids that like they need to be validated by those PT people and be like, it's gonna be okay. So like, you know, but also too, and I wanted to say this, you talk about like pushing through injuries and stuff. And also, and coach, like you brought up a great point, like the coaches that know you and like build that personal relationship. If I know my kids well enough, I know when they walk into practice how that like what their deal is.
Right.
And shame on the coaches that have forced their kids through that. In They are injured, but they're like, I can't stand when coaches go like, oh no, you're just being soft. Like if you know your kid, that is, you know, like they show up every day, they give 100%, whatever. But like relationship with your players to know that okay, like something's off with Riley, like what's really going on. And so like I hope that kids also too can advocate for themselves when something is wrong and not be scared because they've been taught like I have to push, and we naturally do it as athletes, right? Oh, like on the last lap of our mile, like this sucks so bad. Like yeah, it sucks. But like that there's a difference between like pushing through that and being like, oh, like it gets to a point where like you're trying to play, but you're also hurting your team because there's no way you can even give 50%.
Right.
And so I think that's so important too to like, yes, know the difference between injury and like being sore, but also too like advocating for yourself of like, hey, I get it, you guys need me today, but if I go out there, really screw up, and then it is a life thing. Right now it's just like, okay, career is one thing, and selfishly a coach could be like, well, we need you, but then it's also like, okay, well, I want to be highway patrol and I gotta chase some people down, and I like my life is on the line, right? And so and it's just like kind of finding that balance of like both things, like, and it's hard too, like being growing up and you're on your own and you are 18 and you have to be like, oh, I have to advocate for myself. Like my mom's not here to be like, Sally doesn't feel good today.
Yeah. I mean, It's definitely hard because I mean, like I said, I'm the athlete that will never take myself out of a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't care what happens. I can get in a full-blown collision. I can get a concussion on the field, and I tell my trainer I'm fine. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Shut up, no, you're not."
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that part is really hard. And like I've been dealing with this shoulder thing for a couple years and just learning to say like I can't do this right now. Like my arm is so inflamed, it hurts to throw so bad. I can't do this right now has been very difficult. And
Mm-hmm.
just a big like learning for me, like it's okay to ask for help because I was also an individual who would never ask for help.
Sure. And then like
Like
you kind
no,
of look. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say like no matter the circumstance, like I'm gonna try and figure it out on my own and
Yeah.
not like because I don't want people to know my problems or know like I'm going through. Um, and so just learning that it's okay to ask for help when it's needed has been like a huge
Mm-hmm.
like growing thing for me over the last 4 years, and I'm very thankful because I feel like one, it's made me a lot more responsible about myself, and two, just more
Yeah.
independent. Like I
Sure.
still call my mom every day, but like not having to ask her help for everything that I'm going through has been like huge
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. No, and that's you touched on exactly what I was gonna say is that like you in the moment you feel like you're just saying no to coming off the field, but in reality,
Hmm
5 years from now, when you're talking to your lieutenant and you need
hmm
help with something, you're gonna feel more comfortable to say like, "Hey, like I need help with this." Like,
Right.
and being able to do that will help your relationships because I went through that too. Like, there's even still times with
hmm
my wife where I'm like, she's like, "Do you need help with something?" And it gets to the point where I'm frustrated because I've been trying to do it on my own. When in
Right.
reality, if I would have asked her the first time, it would have been done
Yeah.
way sooner.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I know you have to go, Riley, but what I will say is like I commend you because I've known you before you went to Montana.
hmm
And we've talked about this before, like being okay with somebody's, your 80% not being enough, right? Like
Yeah.
I think that that's people real at the end of the day, like people have to realize that like a coach might think 80% is good enough from an athlete. However, it's very selfless to identify you want to know what, like I know I have two quality catchers behind me that can
Mhm.
Right.
perform me at 50% and
Right.
better
Definitely.
for my team than for me to like put them in a position where one bad throw loses, like you lose the rest of your senior season anyways, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's
Right.
well, I know you have to go throw t-shirts.
You have to go throw
Oh,
t-shirts at a basketball game.
I
We're
hope it's with
also
your lefty.
apparently, oh no, we're going righty all day. We're also apparently hitting foam balls into the crowd, so let's hope someone doesn't get pelted in the face because that is
Yeah,
a very high
Sheesh.
possibility.
for real. Well,
Um,
so before you go though, tell us where people can follow your senior year.
yes, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Drop a
where can,
tidbit.
yeah, like
Where to follow us my senior year?
yeah.
Grizz softball Twitter is a
Okay.
big one. Just all of like the social media Grizz softballs, they're kind of everywhere. That or you can stream us on ESPN Plus. All of
Wow.
our games are streamed if you want to watch.
All
Look for
right.
number 8. That's me.
Sick. No, I will now. I will now.
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's super awesome.
Um,
Go ahead, Andy.
no, it's the last thing. What can we expect
Mhm.
from the conference? Like,
Ooh.
what's your summary of like where this season's gonna go?
Honestly, I think it's gonna be a dogfight. I
Yeah.
think everyone in like the Big Sky Conference is very good right now. Um, Everyone has very solid pitchers, and so does our team. So it's gonna be a fight to the end. And it's like the conference tournament in May will be
Mhm.
in Pocatello, Idaho, at Idaho State. So
Full
that'll be fun.
circle. Full
Dude,
circle.
It
they
ends
hate
right
me
where
over
it
there.
Full
started.
circle. I
They
love
are
it.
not a fan. But yeah, I mean, it's very weird to think that couple months I'm done, but I mean, I'm so thankful for the journey that I've been through and the people I've met. Like I've gotten super close with Ashley over the past couple years, so like I wouldn't change anything about anything that I've done. It's just very like surreal thinking that I'm almost done. Like I've played for 17 years now and I'm on my last few months, so but I'm very excited. I think it's going to be an amazing year. And I'm just gonna go out. I'm trying not to put pressure on myself for the whole senior year shebang. But just go out. I want to go out having fun. Because everyone I've talked to is like, you're not gonna remember the scores of your games. You're not gonna remember who you played. Like, you're gonna remember being with your best friends, and my teammates are my sisters. So, I mean, as much as I want to win or lose, I have a good year and just be healthy.
That's awesome. Well, you're awesome, Riley. I'm a big
Thank
fan.
you.
Yeah. Go Grizzlies.
Go Grizz,
Montana
baby.
Grizzlies.
Not Montana State.
Doesn't matter. They don't have a second team.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm pretty embarrassed, but you guys played it off well. I mean,
Yeah,
embarrassed. I've known you for as long as I had, and I said Montana State.
I know. We made it flow though, so it's okay.
Yeah, two worries. All right, well, you get to throw on t-shirts, Riley, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you. Yes, perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
Yeah, good luck this year.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Boom, Jehovah, the Lord, Hagana, Barcelona City, #1.